good and bad to the garage. So I have this piece of scrap from the Copper Damascus Gyoto project, and I was going to throw it out, but my mom, who watches my videos, said that I should make her a harvest knife with it. I didn't know what that was, so I had to look it up. It looks like this. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take the scrap and I'm going to draw it out and make a little knife. So the biggest problem with this style of knife when you're forging it out is you can't draw the steel out this way. It can only be flattened, because if you do, you'll break the braze that is holding the copper to the metal, the copper to the steel. I had to pancake this piece so I could get enough thickness for the edge, or for the blade. Now luckily this isn't the sort of blade that has to be very strong, so I could make it fairly thick. In fact, it's more like a culinary knife, in that it'll mostly be cutting soft things well. And the next issue I ran into was that the edge had a recurve in it, which was part of the design, so that you can slice plants, which made it a bit tricky to grind, because I couldn't push it flat against the platen on the grinder. I had to kind of go against the edge, like allow belt overhang, and then grind it that way, which led to some issues with gouging the blade, so that had to be hand sanded. I decided to go for a blue finish after sandblasting it. But my surprise, I didn't think this would happen, was that the cold blue darkened the copper as well as the steel. So what I had to do was go over the whole thing with some steel wool and kind of just even out the two finishes. So the steel is now gray and the copper is kind of a dull coppery color. So I normally use black for this as you darken the epoxy, but I don't think if there's any gaps, because that's how I use it. I use it to hide any gaps. I don't think that'll actually look good for this. I think this is the sort of thing, where you want it to be clear. Because normally I'm using dark handle materials, and you use your dark epoxy and you turn everything black and it's all cool looking. But for this, I think that would look, I don't know, garish. I think it would make them more apparent. I don't have any red dye, so I'm just gonna go clear. Now we don't want to glue everything in the way we normally would, because we're actually not trying to stick the knife handle or the knife blade to this material. We are just sticking the two pieces of material together. And then the final pin will be what holds them together. These don't really need a lot of reinforcement or anything, the way I would do with some handles, because it's not going to see a lot of stress, and it's not going to see it's not really going to leave my immediate supervision either, because you know, if mom has any issues, she can just tell me about it and I'll fix it. So now I'm just gonna gently clamp this down. Don't want a lot of force or anything here. I'm just making sure nothing moves weird while I go do something else. And I just love about clamps, I love how they always bend in the direction you're trying to put them on something. So you always have to over loosen them so that they'd over top. And then you have to play this little game of trying to hold the thing in place while you with it for 20 minutes. Okay, handle's on. Now I'm gonna let that tack up and I'll pull the blade out. I'm not gonna wait until it's completely cured. I'm gonna let it be kind of soft. I just want it to be not flowing, not wet anymore. Like, you know when you spray paint something and you come back like 10 minutes later and it's like, it's dry, but it's still sticky? That's what I'm looking for. Okay, epoxy's tacked up. Now sometimes you kind of have to hammer this off a little bit, so we'll see what this one's like. Yeah, that's gonna need a little encouragement. There we go. Leather mallet. Okay, bit of a tight fit, but it came off, didn't it here? That's why you always want to taper on something like that, eh? Because you can imagine if that was tight all the way, that would not want to come off. That's one thing you can fall for, you got to watch out for. This is easy to go, oh, I'll finish the tang later, because in your head it's not that important, it's the bit that goes in the handle. But if you accidentally make something that's shaped like this instead of like this, the handle will self-lock if you do something like this. So that could be a good thing if you're going to glue the handle on and then finish it on the knife. But if you aren't, you gotta watch out for that. I'm sure it's pretty. That feels ready to go. Let's go cut something. Okay, let's buy ourselves some time here. Yeah, it seems like it works.